Nobody warned you about being too pretty. I've been seeing a lot of discourse on TikTok about how there's no downsides to pretty privilege, and I'd like to disagree with that. First of all, the law of the universe is yin and yang. So what comes up must come down, good, bad. There's always an opposite to everything, and pretty privilege is not exempt from that. There is a downside to pretty privilege. A lot of people argue that the downside of pretty privilege is just misogyny, and let me tell you why that is not correct. Well, two things can be true at once. As women, we all experience misogyny in some way, shape, or form, but misogyny doesn't equal the absence of privilege. Saying it's just misogyny ignores that not all women are targeted in the same way. A beautiful woman can experience specific harms just because the way she looks and how she is perceived. Encountering an attractive person is almost like having a mirror held up to you. And a lot of people don't have a good internal world. So if you are meeting someone that's basically a mirror of everything that you don't like about yourself, you can project and do all of this stuff to harm that person. There are tiers to being attractive, right? Most women are above average in my opinion. So most women will receive the basic level of pretty privilege, which I like to call the sweet spot of pretty privilege, because until you are extremely beautiful to the point where you hold up a mirror to people and your mere presence points out insecurities in other people, you won't experience the downside of pretty privilege. For an example, I read the book, The Four Agreements, and it basically talks about how to not take anything personally, because a lot of people are experiencing their own world and everything is a projection. Everything that you say, whether good or bad, is a projection of what you have experienced or what you are experiencing in your own world. A lot of people have been outcast by popular or pretty girls. So whenever they meet a girl who is extremely attractive, they often relate that experience to a bad experience that they had in the past with an attractive person, which can cloud their view of attractive people. That's not misogyny. That's deliberately harming someone because of how you perceive them. My cat. Pretty privilege reminds me of how common folk view celebrities. On the outside looking in, it looks like there's no downside. Until you are living it, you don't know the downsides. I would even argue that being extremely attractive and being extremely unattractive are similar because they both push you out of the realm of normalcy. Both are dehumanizing. When you are extremely attractive, people treat you like a trophy or some sort, or like this idea of a person. They don't actually treat you as human. From the outside looking in, it might seem like it, but not really. Attractive people are treated like objects of desire and not actual human beings. When you're attractive, people only want to idolize you. People would rather be acquainted with the idea of you rather than actually getting to know you. People aren't curious about you. They just project onto you. People who are unattractive are treated like objects of disgust. It's the same thing, but two opposite sides of the scale.
In a sense that, you know what I mean? Like,
both attractive people and unattractive people are penalized just for simply existing. If you're attractive, people are like, well, you shouldn't complain because you're pretty. And that's the same way with being unattractive. You shouldn't expect anything because you don't look good. Like, you know, it's literally the same thing. People lack sympathy for people who are attractive, just the same way they lack sympathy for people who are unattractive. Both extreme beauty and extreme unattractiveness makes people uncomfortable. It makes people look at themselves and their own insecurities. Like I said before, there's tiers to pretty privilege. If you are at the basic tier of pretty privilege, which I feel like most women are, you're in the sweet spot. You get stuff for free, you get the doors held open for you. Sometimes you don't, you know? Extreme attractiveness comes with extreme upsides, but also extreme downsides. Like I said before, there's two sides to the coin. The law of the universe is yin and yang. What goes up must come down. So if there are extreme upsides, there's also extreme downsides. That's literally how life works. So if you are saying there's no downside to pretty privilege, that's weird, because there's a downside to everything, okay? Let me get into some of the downsides of pretty privilege. There's this quiet loneliness that comes with pretty privilege because you're often desired and resented at the same time. People literally admire you, but they also hate your guts because you embody everything that they feel like they can't be or that they want to be. People who are extremely insecure get extremely aggressive. You're usually put on a pedestal as an attractive person, and subconsciously people are always trying to knock you off of that pedestal that they put you on. People lack empathy for people who they put on pedestals when something bad happens, because it's like,
yes, finally, yes.
So a lot of people lack empathy for you because you are pretty, and people literally take joy in watching bad things happen to you. That is the downside of being attractive. People take joy in your suffering. You know how frustrating that is? People taking joy in your suffering. Also, it's harder to date and it's harder to make friends because people use you. People use you for your attractiveness, or people just use you for the idea of you. Men usually only want you for how you make them look and not actually want you. They just like the idea of you. The same thing with friends. They use you for your benefits. They use you to get into parties, to get into social groups that they wouldn't be able to get into by themselves. They use you to make themselves look better. That's dehumanizing. Everything that I just mentioned is extremely dehumanizing. And that's why you usually see beautiful people alone, because people cannot handle being around an attractive person when they are extremely insecure. And most people in the world are extremely insecure. People project their experiences onto you. If someone was done wrong by an attractive person in their past, they are going to let every attractive person that they know, that they see, feel it. They are going to get revenge by torturing every attractive person that they meet. And that is facts. That is the truth. I remember on TikTok, I commented on this video that said there was no downside to pretty privilege. And I was basically saying, like, no, there actually is a downside to pretty privilege. And this girl went in on me for no reason. She just said,
oh, you're probably a bully, you're this, you're that, like, you think you all that.
I'm like, this is the downside. You just came up with a whole story in your head about me, not even knowing me. I'm a stranger on the internet because I'm attractive. That is the downside. That's literally the downside to pretty privilege. People literally saying there's no downside to pretty privilege is the downside to pretty privilege. You're minimizing other people's experiences. That's like me saying there are no privileges to being unattractive, which is not true. Yeah, there's a downside to everything and an upside to everything. But with pretty privilege, you're usually shown the extreme upside and not the extreme downside. A lot of this is from my own experience as an attractive woman. So I thought I'd share, especially because a lot of people were getting silenced on TikTok. Like, a lot of people were being so rude and getting silenced because they were speaking out about their beauty as an attractive woman. A lot of people saying that there is no downside to pretty privilege literally exposed the downside to pretty privilege. People were being dismissive. I even commented on my experience in the comments of some of the videos, and people were extremely rude and literally made up stories about who they thought I was just because I was attractive. And that's literally the downside of pretty privilege. People literally lack empathy because they think you have it so easy. That's the downside of pretty privilege. Also, there's a downside to every privilege. Every privilege, period. There's a downside to it. But thank you guys for watching. If this video resonates with you, you have to learn how to protect yourself, and I will be explaining that in another video. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Samantha, and I'm so glad that you came to my channel to watch. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you.